You can hear me now, right? Morning once again. Sorry you have to see me for another 20 minutes while I was sitting there for almost an hour. But we'll make it sharper and quicker. I'll talk about the topic on the procurement complexity and how do we control it and what are the areas that we can work on. While the logistics here is being managed, there's a QR code on the screen. If you can just click on it and give your opinion of what happens in an organization as it is growing at a rapid pace. So this is the question, and if you can put it on your phone, and I will do the same to see how the voting is. So this is just to get a quick input on how organization, procurement and supply chain leadership looks at what breaks from a procurement point of view as the organization is scaling in double digits, triple digits in some cases, what happens. Have you been able to access the link? Is it working? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, now I can see the votes coming in. So if you can read the results, what I'm seeing right now, and I think it will get updated as more people are voting in. More than half, 51% actually, is saying that end-to-end visibility becomes the biggest challenge. And Sneha, you, I think, already mentioned about it at the last moment, and probably we pick it up from there. The next bigger area that is showing up is data accuracy and management. So that's the second one. And then the other two, which is supplier consolidation and tail spend, are pretty much at the equal part. So that's 50%, 40%, and 5% on tail spend and supplier consolidation. So that gives us what keeps procurement and supply chain managers awake at night, as in when the organizations are growing, organizations are facing challenges, disruptions, conflicts across the world. This is what is happening with them. Now, these are the 4 areas that we talked about, and I'll talk about them briefly. I think just to set the context right, that this is what it means. I think tail spend management is easy to understand. Products which are not going, which is a long tail of products which are of small value, but huge quantities, number of SKUs are very high. As organizations grow, they start getting more and more of these products into the system, and that is when it becomes a complication, because the approvals take a lot of time. If you are trying to onboard a new vendor, then it takes a lot of time. So those are the controls that start to go haywire a bit as the organization is growing. And linked to that is how supplier consolidation happens. For every new product, typically what happens is we try to find the lowest cost product from the market. When you try to do that, you will try to introduce a new supplier, which means that to buy probably 1,000 codes, you will have 300 suppliers in the system, because we are all chasing the best, most optimized cost for our specific locations. And the ones which are on the bottom are the ones which are generic, which happens across the board. Data accuracy and management, I think that is one of the key areas that people talk about that is a challenge, because there's a lot more data that is going through the system, and people have to make sense out of it. A lot of times the data is coming in, the quality of data, because the controls are kind of going haywire, the quality of data starts to not remain what it used to be in the past as the organization is growing, and that starts to mess up the overall MDM part for the organization. Leads to PO errors, leads to invoice error. There are rejections when materials come in, realizing that, oh, the part needed was something else, but the what was actually ordered was something else, and then the stock comes in and then gets rejected. Last but not the least, end-to-end visibility. Multiple systems start coming in. When acquisitions start to happen by organizations, every organization is working on a different system. When they start to integrate with each other, the APIs start running amok, running haywire, and that is when the problem starts. When somebody wants to look at one view of a particular commodity, of a product, of a supplier, of their performance, there's no one way to look at it. Somebody will only look at cost. Some portal will give only the lead times for that particular product. Some will only give the TCO of that. So, different things start to happen, which is where it becomes a complexity. as organizations are scaling up. Some of the issues that we have seen for some of our customers also and generally are, there's operational risk that starts to increase, the governance risk, the controls are going haywire, so there is a governance risk that comes in, which happens in 65% of the cases. The processes start to become inefficient because there are layers of approvals that start getting added in each of the areas, which starts to increase the cycle time, and there's a lot more manual effort that organization, procurement teams, supply chain teams have to put. And then the organization starts moving from being more proactive, more strategic, to trying to become reactive, because you're trying to mitigate one risk after the other, There's one conflict coming, then the organizations are reacting to the situation rather than planning it better. What it makes as a problem for the organization are the ones which are mentioned in blue. Suppliers start getting fragmented. As I was talking about, you have multiple suppliers. In some cases, one product would be bought through 5 suppliers in the same geography and in multiple geographies. And we are not able to control it because there might be an availability issue, there might be an OTIF performance issue with one of the suppliers, there might be a cost issue. Same product is being bought at different prices, can also happen. Which is what is the second point on how the procurement cost starts changing. And then the lowest landed cost starts, when you make it to a TCO kind of a thing, you realize that the costs are actually higher to manage those. The inventories start becoming higher. As the number of codes increase, because we are not able to control them in a better fashion as we used to do earlier, the inventories start to pile up. Especially for some of these products where there's a obsolescence attached to it, the risk is even higher. Sourcing is manual, limited use of systems, because when you're a smaller organization, you can do without using an Ariba or any other tech platform. As you start to grow, you need that. If you're not using those, then there's a challenge, because then emails are floating, there are POs going on system. Once the GR comes, it all is happening manually in the system. Last but not the least, all the compliances that need to be maintained. When you deal with multiple suppliers, there are multiple compliances, multiple regulations that we need to follow. So those are something that starts becoming a challenge which is far bigger than just buying at the lowest landed cost. Hence, procurement complexity stops being a cost problem. It starts becoming a control problem for any supply chain or any procurement leader. And that's why some of the things that needs to be done as procurement leadership or supply chain leadership looks at it is making this as a growth enabler rather than just being transactions or finding a new supplier or PO at the lowest cost. It has to shift procurement from just controlling cost to becoming a business growth enabler for the organization and trying to maintain a central governance. Central governance doesn't mean that everything will happen centrally, but the governance, the process, what are the tenets of governance should be made centrally and then followed across the organization depending on which geography people are working in. One of the areas how it can be done is through having standardized processes. Typically what we have also seen in organization, one geography runs a certain process in one way, the other geography will run it in a slightly different way because it's more optimized for that geography, not for the first geography. But if you have standardized process, it's much easier to keep control there. Aggregation, as suppliers start to increase in the system, it's a need over a period in time that continues to aggregate, and some of the processes which can be automated should be automated as well. How do you look at risk? When you also do consolidation, and this is there where when aggregation is happening for suppliers, it also has to be in a controlled manner. You cannot just say that I was buying from 10 suppliers, I'll start buying from one. That might not be the most best way of looking at it. And hence, controlled aggregation or consolidation is the need that any organization has to look at. And last but not the least, you have to always be competitively priced in the market because the customer is still looking at the most optimum product at the least optimum price. I will not say it's the least price, but it will be the optimum price at which they can get that product. And that's why the cost and service superiority remains fundamental to any product that is being sold in the market. And this is where ProcMart comes in, and that I'll just talk a bit about what we do. We basically are a B2B procurement platform offering smart supply chain solutions. It's a combination of being an online platform along with also being offline. We work with about 7,000 vendors in India and outside, and we have about 250,000 SKUs on our platform across 40 categories. We have 45 warehouses, about 35 of them in India, and then some of them in other countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and also UAE. And we have served about 9,000 PIN codes in India in the last 10 years. What typically happens when organizations work with an aggregator like ProcMart is the number of SKUs that you deal with. You are buying with multiple vendors and suppliers. They get consolidated. Typically, we have seen that we can reduce it by, if you have a rate contract, typically half of your total items that you are buying from multiple suppliers gets consolidated. The reduction in supplier count is anywhere between 35 to 40%. So if you were dealing with 4 suppliers earlier, now you're only dealing with probably 1 supplier or max 2 suppliers. That's huge amount of bandwidth and effort that procurement and supply chain needs to spend on just negotiating with different people at different points in time, releasing purchase orders, releasing RFQs, and all of that happens. The PO numbers goes down because you can consolidate them, because there are multiple categories that you can do. Otherwise, what happens is for some products which are in one category, there's one vendor. For another category, there's another vendor. All of that can be consolidated with somebody who's an aggregator and doing it across multiple categories. And then there's an optimization in inventory. You do not need to store everything. You would only store what you need, and everything else can be done by someone else on your behalf. We also have an experience center in Chakan. So anybody who has a plant in Chakan, we would obviously welcome you there. We have, these are the facade of the store. And at the back, we have about 7,000 square feet of space where we have kept stocks for some of our partners, where we are offering them VMI solutions. When we do VMI solutions, we are able to offer them same-day deliveries because we are the ones who are keeping stock. So you do not need to increase your inventory and block your cash flow. We will do it for you on your behalf. There are multiple brand partnerships that we have, which can offer you most competitive price as compared to what you must be getting in the market. I'm just closing it up so that we can open it up for a bit of questions. Typically, what you see in the red and the pinks are the myths that people have, that aggregators are just traders. They are just an additional layer. They take a margin on everything, and we are not the lowest cost supplier of products, and we are just an intermediary. In reality, the things are slightly different. I think the first one, as we talked about, visibility is something that we talk end-to-end visibility. We have our own platform, a tool, a dashboard, which can help you look at the way data you want to look at. So it can be customized. It's on a Power BI, it's on Microsoft. So most of the organizations are using Microsoft Power BI these days. It can be customized to the requirement that any organization has. Then looking at vendor optimization, as I mentioned, you do not need to deal with so many vendors at different points in time and negotiate with them individually. It can be consolidated. You can just talk to one person, and we manage the network behind at the back end for you. And last but not the least, technology and AI driven. I think we briefly touched about AI in the previous session, but more here, anything that has to do with e-sourcing, anything catalog-based procurement. I think we also discussed about how catalog-based procurement is becoming the in thing right now. How do we make that happen on a regular basis? Because anything that happens on a platform, on a tool, it's easier to measure, it is easier to look at dashboards and figure out the efficiency of that. So once you use it, you will automatically understand, does this make sense for your organization or not? I think with that, I would just end and would open it for questions. I've tried to keep it short and crisp so that we can have more conversation rather than just talking through this. Thank you so much.
Do you keep these fairs?
Yes.
It is any industry specific or?
No, we keep spares for across all industries. So we are serving automotive, we are serving FMCG, we are serving metals and mining. So we would be a platform across multiple industry domains.
No, platform is confusing. Okay, so platform is for procurement or platform is for searching and then giving a PO. You said you are an aggregator and you
Yes.
have platforms.
So I think your question is, do you keep spares or not?
Yeah,
Yes.
if I wanted to speak, it is going to be it is Pune is
Physical,
assuming
physical,
that,
yes.
yeah, physical stock.
Yes.
Then I will not keep that inventory.
Yes.
When I need it, I will take it from you.
Yes.
So is it possible?
Yes, it is possible.
So do you keep it for tire industry?
Yes, we do.
Okay, then we'll speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shaunak from Forvia. So
Hi, Shaunak.
I think we are already partners for
Yes.
almost 7-8 years down the line now. It's a wonderful experience with ProcMart, no doubt. I won't say it's an issue, but I will say it's a site of opportunity to improve for ProcMart. In fact, I want to understand what is your strategy to provide us post-sales services, where it is all about technical capabilities and the warranty topics.
Yeah.
There I find a gap in the service that currently you are providing it to us, because you are an aggregator for sure, a big one, but surely not authorized by majority of the OEMs. So regarding the technical support and warranty, what's your thought and how you are planning to take it ahead?
Thanks, Shaunak, for that question. And you're right. I think what we are changing right now is we are getting into those brand partnerships where we are trying to become authorized distributors and partners for some of these brands also. So that whenever there is a challenge that you are facing with the products, then we can get somebody from the brand or the manufacturer itself to serve and support you. So that is something that we are working on right now, but we can obviously discuss more offline if it is something specific for a brand. After sales services as a sector, we have not come in yet, but the plan is that we should be there very soon. Yeah, thanks, Ron.
Already we are a partner to you.
Yes.
We are using your services for more than 3 years now. As I mentioned, your aggregation is a very good concept. It is actually relieving many of the day-to-day transactions, day-to-day efforts that we need to spend on many class C or small consumables, indirect materials.
Yeah.
But when it comes to direct materials, the challenges are too many in the automotive domain.
Yeah.
We have to follow IATF 16949 standards, and the change of suppliers, change of process, change of material, all this requires IATF rules to be applied.
Yeah.
In this, we face challenges. When we are going to an OEM, we are not permitted to change the supplier, change the material, change the process without 4M notifications. So in this case, the aggregators need to upgrade themselves to these automotive standards in order to satisfy these OEM requirements. So right now we are facing these issues. When we go to an aggregator, many of the OEMs do not permit that.
Yes.
And that is where I need aggregators like you to work on meeting these requirements so that we can expand your scope of supplies to much more larger scale.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that input. And that has been one reason why we are not getting into direct materials, because this is that you have to fight directly with the OEMs in some cases. But surely we take that input. As in when we are getting into direct materials, we'll definitely come back to you on that. Thank you so much.
It's wonderful to see this is already working, and including multiple customers are sitting here. So the real voice. Every multinational organization has their IT restrictions.
Yes.
And when organizations are moving towards this approach, how the integration between the current IT system and your tools are happening, because this is always a challenge. And if we are bringing for the real-time information one more additional in between tool, it creates further chaos. So what's the current approach?
So typically two approaches. One approach is where an organization is not ready to share APIs, and because of the data privacy thing, then we work on two tools. Unfortunately, the user and the buyer will have to go through two tools, which means that they will have to come to our tool, try to buy something, raise a purchase order here, and then upload it into SAP. And I'm assuming that you're using SAP because it's an offline process. In some cases where organizations are already on Ariba, then it is more seamless, because you need a layer between SAP and us, which can work through that transition of data without damaging your data or corrupting our data. So if you are using Ariba, Coupa, iValua, any of these softwares, then that integration can happen. But if you're just on standalone SAP, then you will have a challenge. You will have to work through two things. I cannot give you a solution that you might want to hear, but that's the reality that we are facing right now. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, this is Mahesh Patil. I'm from Toro company.
Yes.
I'm responsible for sourcing from India.
Sure.
So we do have like a lot of supply base in India, right? And all our suppliers works with the multiple plant locations for Toro in Europe and United States, right? So my question is that, like, do you keep the paint and the C-class items like fasteners to keep inventory at your end, and then whenever it is required, we can, pass on that to our supply base? Is it something that you do it?
Yes, I think I was answering to that gentleman. Yes, we do keep stocks, but we can discuss on specific categories. Some categories we might not be, but some categories, as you said, we might have already in stock.
Yeah, for the paints, I think we need the temperature control.
Yeah. So
room
paints
side support.
typically we do not keep. It's mostly back to back when the customer requirement comes. But fasteners are something that stocking is not an issue. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank
But
you.
we can discuss.